Kirsty is writing, have you ever had anyone say to you they do not like using mark training in agility training because it could change the trajectory of the dog? Um, to this, I assume she's referring to jumping. So if that's happening for real, then the mark bucket is not being positioned properly. It's probably positioned too close to the jump, and it's causing the dog to pull back and jump in semi-collection. Dogs need to start thinking about collecting 3 strides before they actually need to collect. And if if you've never noticed how your dog communicates it's starting to think about collection, that's something interesting to observe on videos. I could tell you the answer to that, but I encourage you all to watch your dog's body language, and see what you see, whether it's as your dog is going over the dog walk, 3 strides before, hits that contact zone for running, or if your dog collects. In that case, some dogs have been trained to extend, but most kind of do a collection stride there. Or if your dog has a stop contact, or if your dog, there's big spacing and your dog is going to take a jump. Just have a look and see if you can figure out how your dog communicates their thinking collection, because they communicate when they begin to think about it. So, the other thing that comes up with this question is I've come across a fair number of people who are unfamiliar with the real benefits of mark training, and it isn't on the external behavior. Yes, there are so many great external behaviors you can train on a mark bucket. I mean, pivoting is something that Sylvia Turkman, turned me on to 15 years ago. But also the physical, what's the word? The physical posture a dog needs to get into to be able to stop on a mark without tipping it over is very similar to the way a quarter horse collects. So they drop their rear and they weight shift back. So that's collection before it jumps. That's just basic collection. And so there's it's great for training distance and all that. And if you haven't seen my promo for mark training, in 2 minutes you will get a sense of all the benefits for it. But that's really not what it's intended to be used for. The main benefit is on the dog's mental and emotional state. And this has been a really hard thing for me to communicate, because who's not been through Ocean, not everybody, but most people are thinking in terms of that's a prop and I'm going to use it like a prop. And one issue I had by offering Mark Training Essentials as a standalone course, and I really had to think long and hard about whether to do that because of this potential problem, is no matter how much I talked about the main benefits are on your dog's mental and emotional state, a lot of people just kind of viewed it like, this is a prop. I want to train my dog to collect. I want to train my dog to do distance. I want to train my dog, blah, 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 blah. And what they found in the course, well, while I was showing them, here's the beginning steps of mark training. You need to develop and balance a dog's driving to a mark bucket, staying on it, and releasing from it. And until that dog has a very high level of enthusiasm, which is balanced with impulse control, which the term EPIC comes from, enthusiasm plus impulse control, till you're at the level, you don't have to be all the way at the level of the dog in the promo, but your dog has to be like seeing a mark and wanting to run to it and understanding to stay on it before you can start using it as a prop anyway. Because it's not going to work like what you see in the video until you've built up that mental state. So it's become a catch-22 with a few people, saying, feeling that I'd held back something in mark train, that the secret ingredient I didn't share. But I am sharing it, and I just shared it again. It is really on prioritizing the dog's mental and emotional state. And if you've never done that and you don't know how you would do it, that is a reason to sign up for Ocean, because Ocean teaches you how to do that step by step, using mark training as one of a few different tools that really simplifies things so that you can focus on your dog's mental and emotional state such that you can shape the kind of mental state that is incredibly enjoyable for your dog. It's like calm readiness, eagerness, but that also works really well for whatever activities you're doing with your dog, whether it's, search and rescue or freestyle or even obedience, trick training, agility, or just off-leash hikes is maintaining this inner state where your dog is connected and it's not dependent on the dog being next to you to be connected, that the dog, that you've developed this relationship of connection and trust that will come from implementing these Ocean principles. So I think I've answered that. So here's an email question I got from somebody else who, I don't think Christy took the mark training course, but here's somebody who did. She said, I can see how mark training would be beneficial, but I did find the Clean Run course to be more of an infomercial on mark training. The course needs more instruction, where to use the mark bucket and agility, how far before a jump should the mark bucket be in order for the dog to take off properly, how far before or after an obstacle should the mark bucket be, etc. The overall information given in the Clean Run course was not enough for a trainer to begin to use mark training efficiently to reap all the benefits. I hope you'll offer more training details at a later date. Thank you. And I really do appreciate this person sharing this feedback, because it really is a good example of, I was unable to communicate in a way that this person could understand that all of the information was in there. And if I were to tell people where to put a mark bucket and agility, how far before of a jump, how far after, blah, 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 along with the getting started with mark training, I would say, I'm making up 50%. I'll just say 50% of people are going to try to go right to that from the beginning. They're going to get their dog in a mark bucket, and within a few days or a week, they're going to start doing that. And it's not going to work, because their dog doesn't have enough value built in. The dog doesn't have the ability to stop on a mark bucket running from 30 feet away. It's a physical skill they need to develop. Or the dog doesn't know how to stay on a mark bucket when the handler is running by it, or the handler isn't coming with the dog. And so they'll just go, oh, well, mark training, this doesn't work. Mark training is not effective. So I'm intentionally, not including advanced mark training, although I did include medium advanced mark training in that course. But really, the way you get to more advanced mark training is by taking Ocean. And that is there's no information I can give you that I didn't give you. But I did offer to this person that, hey, if you already have a highly mark trained dog, post your questions and videos in the free Ocean for Dogs Facebook group where this live event's taking place. Post them, and I will give you feedback, and I will tell you, where I would put that mark bucket in an agility course, or where I'd put it in front of a jump for your particular dog, before or after obstacles, etc. All of that, I would definitely be willing to give her that feedback, and I did encourage her to do so. But one rule of thumb is, I don't put a mark bucket closer than 3 strides after a jump if the dog is going to be taking that jump and extension. For that same reason that dogs need 3 strides to think about collecting. If I want my dog to be in extension, I need to give them the visual that means I can take this jump and extension, and I don't need to start thinking collection to hit that mark bucket and stick that landing until after I've landed after the jump. So that I can answer that one question. But again, your dog isn't going to drive hard over a jump in extension towards a mark bucket until you've built the value. And I guess I can say one more thing, that where to put the mark bucket in agility, anywhere you would put a toy, you can put a mark bucket. And the main difference is, with a toy, the dog is locking on to a reward. The dog is thinking about diving for the toy. And in the case of the mark bucket, the dog is thinking about running to a behavior that necessitates some thinking. So a dog running to a mark bucket is going 3 strides before, oh, I need to start thinking about collecting, versus a dog that's going for a toy is going, I need to grab that toy. So again, different mental state and different body position. So one dog is preparing to rock back, one dog is preparing to dive down, to rock forward into their front end. And if you compare this, and I have shared this, I believe in this Ocean for Dogs, but lots of videos in my Canine Jumping Forum group, that you will see the dog goes over the last jump differently when they're preparing to dive for a toy. And the thing I love about driving towards a mark bucket is if it's far, 3 strides away from that last jump, and you will see your dog take every jump, including the last jump, the same exact way, because they were driving towards an obstacle in this case versus driving towards a reward. And there are difference of opinions. Some people really have it set in their heads that when their dog is diving for a toy, that looks like good jumping to them, this super low head. And I'm not going to get into that topic here. I personally don't agree with that. I'm looking for a natural jumping style. When the dog lands, just like a horse, that the way they pull some of that force off their front ends is they will raise their head upon landing. So I'm not looking for a diving kind of head. I'm looking for, a head that it comes up so that it takes some of that force off the front end. But that's a whole other topic. And, one other thing that, Ocean is not for everyone. And I completely respect that. It's like, I don't want to, get into, all the details of where my dog is at. Like, my dog doesn't have any problems, and I'm fine with everything, and got a perfect recall off leash, and there's no quirky behaviors that make me crazy, and he's not barking and spinning and all this stuff, and everything's great. Then it may not be for you. But the funny thing is when I was first exposed to these kind of principles and to mark training through Sharon Nelson, who, if you don't know who Sharon Nelson is, Google her. She's got a membership program called InSync, also on Facebook, and I think she's going to set up a website soon. But when I didn't have a big hairy problem, I was just curious to see what would happen when I tried some simple actions. And so if you're that kind of curious person, then Ocean is for you, whether your dog has a big hairy behavior problem or that everything's going well. But if your thing is like, things are good enough, I just want to know, how, I can use mark buckets in training, I would say take the Mark Training Essentials course and proceed and post in the free group. I think you'll be really happy with that. And I don't think you'd be happy going deepest with your dog in Ocean.